Yo, what's the motherfucking word? What's the word, fellas and ladies? I don't know. Fellas and ladies, what's the word? We are back. Oh, it feels so good. Back after a month of being gone. I'm on spring break now. So we go get a video every day up until I go back to class, but we gonna make every one of these days count. For real though. The Phoenix Suns, big trade for the trade deadline, acquiring Kevin Durant. Once they acquired Kevin Durant, everybody thought that they were shoo-ins for the NBA Finals. They thought they were shoo-ins to become this year's NBA champions. Right now they're fourth seed. They've lost 2 games in a row, and unfortunately, Kevin Durant got injured during warmups. The video, I'm pretty sure that you've seen it during a layup line. Tweaked his ankle. It didn't look like it was going to be anything too serious. I think he's going to be back within the next couple of weeks. He's surely going to be back before the playoffs begin. I don't think they have anything to worry about right there. But Rusty Buckets made a video, and you know I love Rusty Buckets. Are we sure the Suns are contenders? Now, I'm pretty sure that the Suns are contenders. And when I mean contenders, I mean I can see them in the Western Conference Finals easy. I see them as that. But we're going to look into this video. It's a 10-minute video. Like I don't always watch the videos all the way through. So let's just jump in.
Suns pulled off easily the biggest deadline move in the history of the entire NBA by adding Kevin Durant at the deadline in exchange for Mikal Bridges, Cameron Johnson, and a handful of first-round picks. This was a move that it was immediately met with praise because, of course, Kevin Durant is Kevin Durant, and the Phoenix Suns have been needing a significant boost given that they have felt as though their window had been closing. And now that they have Durant on this roster and having seen him performed a couple of times on this team now, the team is definitely scary. But at the same time, there is
I think Kevin Durant's first game, I think him and Devin Booker went off for like 30 plus. It was like they were looking good. I don't know who they went against. I forgot who they went against, but they were looking. No, they went against I think they went against like the Washington Wizards or something like that. I believe that was the first game Kevin Durant played was against the Washington Wizards. But even if he put up 38, and I think Devin Booker had like 33 points in that game. Like they were looking scary.
Clearly an adjustment being made between the two of them, and that adjustment and the lack of comfort there and familiarity there might hold them back from winning a championship. And let's discuss if that actually will happen. Roll the intro. Before I get into today's video, I want to talk about this video's sponsor, Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the easiest way to play daily fantasy for someone who is new to daily fantasy. Get right down the app and use code season trade historically does not actually really affect things all too much. There are examples of players coming in and bringing contributions to championship level teams when they're traded for at the deadline, but really players who are acquired at the deadline, you typically see those moves pay dividends in the season following it when those players are more attuned with the culture of the team and start to understand the playbook more and get to go through a training.
And that was the thing too. That's why I said, you know, I usually see everybody saw this team as like a shoe-in, but you know, even when I went back home I think I went back home for the Super Bowl. Me and my cousin were and his friend, we were talking about it. And he asked me, he was like, "Who do you think is going to win the championship this year?" And obviously, I said the Milwaukee Bucks because I'm biased. But he was like, "Phoenix Suns got Kevin Durant," and we talking about it. And I'm like, there has never been a team where they made, like, even if it was an off-season acquisition. Even though if they acquire somebody in the off season, they still take that year or 2 years to kind of mold and become, you know, that championship contending, finals contending team. You saw it happen. The only team that it didn't happen with probably was the Golden State Warriors when they acquired Kevin Durant, but that was because it was the Golden State Warriors. Happened with the Miami Heat when LeBron and Bosh went there. It's happening with the Dallas Mavericks with Kyrie and Luka Doncic. So you can tell, like, even though those are two great players, they're not used to playing together. It's going to take them a while to play together and actually get used to and complement each other on both the offensive and defensive end of the ball. And I feel like that's just the same for every single team. Like, whenever there's a big Whenever you acquire a big name or do a big trade, there's going to be some wiggle room. There's going to be some room for improvement. It doesn't matter what kind of caliber you put on what kind of team.
Training camp. And historically, that's always been the case. However, also historically, nobody traded for a player as good as Kevin Durant at the trade deadline. Literally, the closest that I can think of it is DeMarcus Cousins. And at the time that the Pelicans traded for him, they were nowhere near being in a championship conversation at the time. So, this is an unprecedented context. But I do believe that the previous precedent still lends reason for concern for this team actually being able to put it together and win a championship with Kevin Durant this year. So we're discussing here if it's going to happen this year specifically. By no means is this conversation supposed to be, can they win a championship with KD? Because obviously it's just a matter of if it's this year or next, because they're probably my championship favorites next year. So first, let me talk about what I have seen from Kevin Durant in his initial couple of games with the Phoenix Suns. It has been very clear that Kevin Durant has been approaching things slowly and methodically for this Suns team, in both an effort to not rush things for himself and also not to step on the toes of his new teammates. He's still trying to allow DeAndre Ayton to get his opportunities. Chris Paul to
DeAndre Ayton has been playing pretty good these last couple of games as well. Last game he had like 27 points.
Based on his mid-range game and all of that. But there are also times where it's very clear that Durant just demands the ball and does Kevin Durant stuff. And really, it's that ability, bars, that makes Kevin Durant on this team so scary. See, this team was really lacking in everything that Kevin Durant brings to the table. Their ways of approaching offense, their weaponry out there, they got a big freaking upgrade. And I realize I'm not breaking any new ground by saying that. It's obvious that Kevin Durant has really helped them be much better. But it is also very evident that Durant has been holding back while doing this. So given.
And honestly, I feel like that's what Durant will have to hold back for them to be a championship contending team. Just like when Dwayne Wade had to hold back and let LeBron do his thing for them to be a championship contending team. Kevin Durant, he's old. Like, he's still a great player, still top 5, top 10 player in the NBA. But the Phoenix Suns is Devin Booker's team through in and throughout. And then the way Kevin Durant plays, he plays a lot of ISO ball. And I feel like when you have a playmaker and a point guard like Chris Paul, Durant can't play the way that he wants to play throughout the entirety of the game. Say like Devin Booker and Chris Paul's off the court and he's on the court with the bench. He's running with the bench because I'm pretty sure sometimes in the lineup, it's probably just going to be him and Aiden on the court. And he can probably run that ISO. He can run the pick and roll with DeAndre Ayton. He can get the switches. He can pull up from 15, 20 feet, all of that. But I feel like when you have Devin Booker and Chris Paul on the court, they have a style of play that they are used to now. They've been together for 2 years now. I think 2 years, 2 or 3 years. They've been together for a couple of years now. And they know how each other play. They know how each other wants to play with them on the court. So I feel like Kevin Durant just has to take that step back. He has to become more of a passive player, if that makes sense. But not so passive to the point where he's only taking 7, 8 shots per game. He's still going to find his shots because he's Kevin Durant. They're still obviously going to look for him, but he can't just dribble between pull up 5 possessions in a row.
That he has been holding back, and they still look kind of terrifying with him. Imagine what they look like when this team gets in the flow of things and Kevin Durant is Kevin Duranting to the fullest extent. So now let's talk about some of the potential teams that they might end up facing, because really, whether or not they can get that chemistry together, whether or not they can really put what they need to put together to make a championship run really happen, that also is going to be determined by what they have to face in the Western Conference. And fortunately for them, I do think this is probably the weakest the West has been in quite a bit. If you take a look at the standings,
the Blazers,
NBA teams are really just barely hovering around.
What happened to the Utah Jazz needs to be studied. What happened to the Utah Jazz needs to be studied. How hot of a start that they had. And I expected them to drop, but I still expected them to make the playoffs. I'm not gonna lie. Maybe that was dumb of me. Maybe I don't know ball, but how good they were playing and how good Lauri Markkanen was playing, I still kind of expected them to be in the playoffs. I mean, they're in the play-in still, but
500. In fact, there are more teams really in that 500 department than there are above it by quite a substantial margin. Even in the number 4 seed, the Phoenix Suns themselves only have a 55% win percentage. And if we're just looking through the Western Conference,
yeah, the West is kind of nasty.
As one of the top seeds, I do believe will be really solid in the
I think I might make a video on Sacramento. They're the 2 seed. Wow.
Denver has their issues defensively that Phoenix could definitely pick
apart.
Damn,
Denver's on a 3-game losing streak. Not my MVP. My MVP's not on a 3-game losing streak, baby.
I will attest that was more coaching than it was Nikola Jokic, because Mike Malone did nothing to do Jokic any favors. But at the same time, the same thing might happen again. And now, not only do you have Chris Paul and Devin Booker, who can potentially feast on that Nikola Jokic drop coverage, but now you also have Kevin Durant, who can do that even more efficiently. So that could be a huge mismatch nightmare for the Denver Nuggets. If we look over at Dallas, they don't play a lick of defense, so I do think the Phoenix Suns would be better than them. Memphis, there's a lot going on with them right now, so I really don't know how to evaluate their current situation. For the Golden State Warriors,
Memphis
it's
cooked.
possible they can flip the script.
Memphis is
right
cooked.
Back to what they were last year, but I don't really trust it. Like, the Timberwolves are not that great. The Clippers are not that great.
The Suns, they have a chance. Now that I'm looking at it and I'm looking at the standings and I'm looking at how teams have been playing this year, they really do have a chance, especially since the Grizzlies, they don't have John. I don't believe they're going to have John Morant for the rest of the season. So their only competition, really, people still sleep on the Clippers because we all know that the Clippers are going to turn it up during the postseason. But people still sleep on the Clippers and the Nuggets, obviously. And then the Warriors can turn it up. The only teams that I'm not really worried about, I'm not worried about the Timberwolves. I'm not worried about the Lakers. I'm not worried about the Jazz. I'm not worried about the Grizzlies. I may be worried about the Mavericks if I was the Phoenix Suns, but yeah, they don't really have much to worry about. I'm not really worried about the Kings. Like he said, they're inexperienced.
To beat them in a series. So winning the Western Conference already seems fairly feasible. Now let's compare
that Eastern teams
to come out of the East.
Giannis.
I'm really just going to focus on 3 teams, those being the Bucks, Celtics, and Sixers. I would be surprised if any team that was not
the Bulls
out of the East.
The Bulls gonna make it out of the East.
Year. So against Milwaukee, you might be able to exploit Brook Lopez in the drop as you would with Nikola Jokic. However, Milwaukee can just always switch to their small ball lineup, and
that ain't gonna work.
Traded for Jay Crowder, which allows them to implement that more comfortably.
That ain't gonna work.
Of Boston, that is a very unfavorable matchup for Phoenix because they're going to be a team
that ain't gonna work.
Relies a decent bit on their isolation scoring and one-on-one.
Boston defense too good. Yeah, their defense is too good. Their defense is too good.
Celtics have going for them. Now, in the case of the Sixers,
that'll be a good finals. Like, I feel like they're going to get beat probably like 4-2, 4-1 against Milwaukee and Boston. But going up against the Sixers, I think that's a good 6 or 7 game series.
Probably the most
I think that's a good 6 or 7 game series.
I don't think that they can really do much to bother the Suns because while they do have a strong defensive interior presence, obviously because of Joel Embiid, perimeter defense wise, there's definitely room for improvement, and that's an area where the Phoenix Suns could definitely attack pretty strongly. That said, though, I do think the defense of the Bucks and the Celtics is strong enough that I would pick them to win the series versus Phoenix if it came to that. But if it ended up being a Sixers series, I could see it going Phoenix's way. Also, it would depend a little bit with Milwaukee, just what Chris Middleton is bringing to the table, because we really don't know what that's going to be, given that he's still been super inconsistent ever since recovering from his injury, which is entirely understandable. But of course, given their potential to contend, what is he bringing to the table? That certainly matters. So, of the question,
I ended up watching the whole video anyway. Yeah. I mean, he didn't say anything that was really didn't agree with or anything crazy. Like, they're contenders. They're obviously contenders. You have Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, and Chris Paul on the team. And DeAndre Ayton, he's not nobody to be slept on. I just can't wait. Like, one of the reasons that I ain't been doing videos is one, because of, just busy with school and sports and everything. But the other thing is, like, we're at the point where it's not much to talk about in the NBA. Like, once you reach that halfway point, once you reach the All-Star break and everything like that, I mean, nothing crazy really happens. After the trade deadline, it's kind of like, it's wraps. But playoffs is coming up. I'm hoping to be able to watch every single game during the playoffs and have it on my channel and be able to talk about every game individually on my channel. But yeah, hopefully I can talk about the Phoenix Suns more in the next couple of months or the next month or so. Hopefully they make a deep run. But if you did make it to the end of the video, I do appreciate you. And if you made it to the video, that means you like the content. So like the video, comment down below, and subscribe to the channel. It's my birthday. Happy birthday to me. I'm 24 years old today. I feel old. I feel old, but go ahead and birthday present to me. Hit that subscribe button. I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.